Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The Off the Dome Sports Podcast.
we're back.
Tell them we back, baby.
We back, baby. Like we never left.
Like we never left. Different location, different setup, different equipment. Everything's different, but it's the same old Redfish and Mustang.
We're still the same.
This is the Off the Dome Sports Podcast, your favorite sports podcast where two sports lovers sit and give their hot takes.
Off the dome.
We are the boys at Brightside.
In the K-Town Pound.
K-Town Pond, huh? Redfish.
Mustang.
Joe Burrow. Love you, Joey. But yeah, different setting here. We've been gone for a month and a half now.
Yeah.
First episode back.
Good to be back.
Very good to be back. If you can't hear us, go ahead and drop it in the chat. I would love to know if the audio's working, the camera's working, everything's fine.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure things out, kind of troubleshoot a little things, this and that.
Yeah, I mean, we got it all figured out, hopefully. But, yeah, so, we're back. We're better than ever. This is the way it's going to be. From now looking forward, we got some exciting stuff coming up. So really excited for that. But, hey, just because we in a different spot and we got new stuff, that don't mean it's a different Off the Dome.
Oh, no. We're still here.
We still here. And we still coming. And we still having fun.
Still ain't backing down.
But yeah, I'm just really excited for what's coming in the future. I'm really excited to be back. Yeah, whether we get one person watching or 100 people watching, I really don't care. This is just fun for us.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm really excited to be doing it again. So, if you're watching, we're on YouTube and Twitch now, Off the Dome Sports Podcast, right directly on the channel. So if you just look up Off the Dome Sports Podcast on YouTube, on Twitch, we'll come up. I think our Twitch name is actually OTD Sports. So if you go on Twitch, OTD Sports, we're on there. On YouTube, Off the Dome Sports Podcast. Make sure to follow us on Facebook. That's how we get all the information out. So make sure to follow us on there. And without further ado, it's been a long time. Let's get into some sports.
It's been a minute. I'm ready.
I'm really excited. I mean, since the last time we've done an episode, NFL free agency has happened. We didn't talk about any of the Saints stuff that has happened over the past month and a half. So that is something that I think we should go into first.
Oh, definitely. Big moves have been made.
Big moves. Yeah, I mean, and what better place to start when the most important move of the offseason, the Saints sign quarterback Derek Carr.
I think it's a really good move. I know I've seen a lot of mixed reviews about it on social media. And I know it's not like the best of the best, but I think it is the best that was available. I think they did their job and went out and tried and improve this team. Last season we missed the postseason.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean,
and I think
we were right there too.
Yeah.
Even in a down year, couple things go our way, we make it in.
Yeah, and I think acquiring Derek Carr puts us in the direction to get to the postseason.
Yeah.
That's all I'm looking for is moving forward.
Yeah.
Taking the step further rather than declining.
Yeah, you can't look at Derek Carr as like, oh, this is our new franchise quarterback. He's going to be with us for the next 8 years type thing. That's not what Derek Carr necessarily is. He's the guy who's going to come in, hopefully give us 4 to 5 solid seasons that put us in contention. I'm not saying we're a Super Bowl contender this year. I would never say that because we're not. We'll get into more Saints predictions once the season actually gets closer, of course. But I think Derek Carr was the best available option on the market, whether it be by trade, free agency, or in the draft. I mean, there's a couple quarterbacks I really like coming out of the draft.
Yeah, there's some really good rookies, but they need time to develop.
Right, and Derek Carr has proven to you, even though he hasn't been like elite necessarily, he is in the top 12 quarterbacks.
Yeah, yeah. He's not, he's not the greatest, but he's definitely not the worst.
No, absolutely not. There are many quarterbacks worse than Derek Carr. And, he's proven before his teams can make the playoffs. He's proven before that he can win games, and he played at an MVP level before getting hurt in, 2016. I know that was a long time ago. It's crazy to think about. But, Derek Carr has shown flashes of being a really good quarterback. I just hope we can get the weapons around him to make him flourish.
And I think we kind of already have those weapons. He's coming into a pretty good situation, if you ask me. We've seen the amount of success he's been able to have with the Raiders. It's not been the greatest, but he's been able to hang on, keep them in the hunt at least, with a pretty below-average defense through the years. And I think the Saints bring that defense that can really help his offense.
I don't know the exact stat, but I remember seeing something like Derek Carr in his entire career has never had a defense better than like 20th. He's never had like above a bottom 10, bottom 12 defense. And last year the Saints had a top 10 unit. And the Saints have had a top 10 unit for the past 4 to 5 seasons. So it's not like some random season we had where we had a good defense. We have a sustained, very reliable defense for the Saints. So I think adding Derek Carr to a team where he knows that the defense is going to back him up, he doesn't have to worry about scoring every single possession because the defense is letting the other team score so much. That'll put him, at ease. And the next guy I want to talk about is somebody who apparently was a big reason why Derek Carr came. He was a big recruiting piece for us, and he's a guy who we haven't seen play well in 3 years. But we restructure his deal, 1-year deal, $10 million base. Incentives go up to 15. Builders in the contract. That way, if he doesn't play, he doesn't get paid. So this is a prove-it deal for a guy we saw win Offensive Player of the Year just 3 years ago, wide receiver Michael Thomas.
Yeah, no, we haven't. You're right. We haven't seen him play in a long time. A lot of people were upset at that, including me. But I think he's motivated this year. He's got that new contract that's really incentive-based. He's got a new quarterback that he wants there. I think he's going to go out and perform this year.
He's got no choice but to be motivated if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because, if you don't make this contract work, nobody wants you, first of all. And what have you proven to bring yourself any more money? If you don't do anything this year and you're injured, I mean, he's not old per se, but an older veteran like that who hasn't played healthy in 4 years, no team's really going to take a shot on you.
Yeah, a lot of teams are really, stingy when it comes to wide receivers who are very injury prone.
Yeah. With that being said, though, Derek Carr did mention Michael Thomas many a time when coming to New Orleans, saying, he called him immediately and was like, hey, when are we getting to work? We haven't started working yet. We're already too late. Michael Thomas has, tweeted out. He's big on Twitter, so he's tweeted out lots of things. But he's been a very strong proponent of Derek Carr, saying he was very happy that Derek Carr's coming. It looks like, they're going to be working well together. We still have Chris Olave, who, in my opinion, should have been in running of Rookie of the Year. We have Kamara, who we don't know what's going to happen with him. He could miss no games. He could miss an entire season. Really depends on the suspension. And after the latest video that came out, I would be surprised if it was less than 8 games. He did some stuff wrong for sure. But we've definitely got weapons on the offensive side. And one more weapon I want to talk about on the offensive side before we move to what we gained on defense and then what we lost overall, because we definitely lost some pieces this offseason. Jamal Williams, I think it was one of the best signings not only for the Saints but in the NFL. Coming off a 17 touchdown season, we get him for $4 million a year.
Yeah, I almost forgot that we signed him. I knew we signed a running back. I just couldn't put it in my head. Then you said his name, and I got so excited again. Yeah, he just had that monster season out in Detroit, and I think even when Kamara's back playing, it's going to be a really, really dynamic run game that the Saints will have between Kamara, Jamal Williams, and Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I mean, you can't forget about Taysom. He's still here. There's been rumors, with Sean Payton in Denver. People were like, oh, maybe he'll trade for Taysom. Maybe Taysom will find his way to Denver. But as of right now, Taysom is a Saint, and I plan on him still being a Saint when the Saint season starts. So between Kamara and Taysom and then adding Jamal Williams, a guy who scored 17 touchdowns last year for a Detroit Lions team that performed a lot better than most people expected. Not me, of course. I knew they were good, and they were. I think they're going to be better this year. But Jamal Williams, he really excelled on the volume last year, and he was really, really good in the red zone and short yardage situations. So I think Jamal Williams is going to be a great piece to add to the Saints. Kamara with the dynamic running out of the backfield added with the pass catching ability brings you one side of your offense where Jamal Williams brings that power side, that short yardage situation, touchdown upside, and then the Swiss Army knife and Taysom. That's a great trio to have running the ball for you.
Yeah, and I remember last season we were talking about, Kamara not getting enough touches. I think with this backfield, when he's back, we won't need him to get that amount of touches because we'll have, this Jamal Williams run game that, 2 yards in a cloud of dust.
And 2 yards in a cloud of dust. And not only that, but we have Derek Carr.
Yes,
we have a quarterback who we can
can
trust to throw the football.
Yeah, he's not afraid to throw the long ball, and we've seen that, since Drew Brees' last year.
Yeah. I mean, Derek Carr, I think, he's the most confident I've been in a quarterback since, 2018 Drew Brees.
Yeah, and especially
even 2019 Drew Brees was a scary sight. The year before he retired, 2020 he gets injured again. We've had Jameis who, was playing really well before he tore his ACL. Then, he comes back last season. He's our starter, gets injured within the first 3 games. He's out the rest of the year due to whatever the situation was there, injury or sitting after he gets back, whatever. Then we have Andy Dalton. We had those days of Trevor Siemian a couple years ago. I mean,
Trevor Siemian beat Tom Brady.
he did. That is a fact. Not a fact I would like to acknowledge ever again. But
I will continue to acknowledge it.
But the Saints quarterback situation has went from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows pretty quick.
We've been through the ringer.
And I'm very excited for change for the Saints. And last year I know you and I talked a lot about the coaching and whether the coaching was the problem. I think this year's the year to see it.
Yeah.
We have the talent we easily have the talent to win the division.
Yes.
I think I'm not saying we're Super Bowl contenders, like I said earlier, but I do believe that the Saints should be and are the favorite to win the NFC South this year. And we'll see how that works out. We've talked about the offense. Let's move to the defense. As far as signings on the defense, I don't think we didn't make a big splash, but we made a lot of really good moves to get rotational pieces that we need. Just to wrap up what we did, we got 2 D tackles. We got Nathan Shepard off the Jets. He's a really good run stopper. Doesn't add much from the pass rushing ability, but he's a really good run stopper. And then we added Super Bowl champion Callan Saunders. Very, very athletic D tackle coming from the Kansas City Chiefs. Showed pass rushing ability. In the Super Bowl had a play where he chased down Jalen Hurts on the sideline. And then in the secondary, we added Lonnie Johnson, who's like a safety corner. He can play both positions. A little bit bigger, a little bit stronger than CJ. Not quite as agile, but kind of plays that same role where he can move all over the field for you.
Yeah.
Similar to a PJ Williams, I would say, who's still floating out there, so we may bring him back as well. And then we brought back a couple linebackers and guys like Ty Summers. We didn't make a big name splash like we did on offense with Derek Carr or, re-getting Michael Thomas or anything like that. But defensively, I think we did as much as we could do before the draft to really set us up for success.
Yeah, I think this draft needs to be a heavy defensive draft for us. If we can get some guys there that will fill those holes, not now, but, a few years down the road, I think we'll be all right in, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and, before we move on to who we lost and how we can recoup that, do you have any guy we're looking at? We're looking at pick 29, and we're not going to go too far into the draft today because we're going to do that on our next episode. But do you have a guy you're looking at 29 where the Saints are picking that you think would be a really good fit for us?
Off the top of my head.
Off the dome, some would say.
Off the dome. There's a bunch of good quarterbacks coming out. I don't think we need one, but I'd say if one of those guys was there somehow, kind of like
that
last year's
insane.
draft where all the quarterbacks fell.
Yeah.
I think you kind of have to pull the plug.
Yeah. Bryce Young and CJ are not going to be there.
No.
They're going 1 and 2, whichever order. And again, like I said, we're going to get deeper into the draft in later episodes, especially the day of the draft, which we will talk about at the end of this episode. But, if Will Levis or Anthony Richardson is for some reason sitting there at 29, that's really enticing. I know we just signed Derek Carr, but like I said, he's not a guy that you can depend on for the next 10 years.
Exactly.
And
it'd
Will
be great.
Levis,
It'd be great to have one of these young guys come in and study under, a pretty good quarterback.
yeah, and
We missed that opportunity with Drew Brees.
we did. We should have drafted somebody under Drew Brees, somebody better than Garrett Grayson, that's for sure,
or Ian Book.
But sitting there at 29, I like that idea. For me, I think we have to go D-line. We lost. We're about to get into who we lost, but guys like Brian Brzee and Kalijah Cansey catch my eye if they are there at 29. Interior D linemen who can both stop the run and rush the passer. And then we can look at edge, too, with guys like Miles Murphy. We can look at guys like Felix Nduke out of Kansas State. And then, for me, I love the tight ends in this draft. So I think, if possible, Dalton Kincaid, Michael Mayer there at 29.
Michael Mayer's my guy.
Also some good picks.
Yeah. I wouldn't pass on him if he was there at 29.
I like Dalton Kincaid more, but I think Michael Mayer is a great player as well. So getting into kind of what we lost, we lost a lot of defensive pieces, and that's why I was bringing up the D-line.
Heavy D-line.
We lost 2 D tackles, our starting 2 D tackles, and David Onyemata and Shai Tuttle, who both went to division rivals. David Onyemata gets paid from the Falcons, ends up going to Atlanta. Shai Tuttle gets paid from the Panthers, goes to Carolina. And it was kind of a common thing with Saints free agents to go to divisional rivals. I noticed that with a lot of guys who left us this offseason, but how do you think we can recover from the loss of guys like Onyemata and guys like Shai Tuttle?
Well, like you said, you gotta draft. You gotta start somewhere, right? So in the draft upcoming, I know our boy Rebo Hustle is big on Kalijah Cansey.
Yeah.
He's been talking about him a lot.
Our buddy Father Forsyth over there is the biggest Kalijah Cansey fan I've ever met in my life. So
somebody get him some glasses. He can't see. But
that was so bad.
yeah, you got the draft. You got to get these young guys, or if you can't, look for the market like we did in this offseason, in this free agency. We got some guys. Hopefully they pan out. If not, you just got to look forward. A guy has to be in that I'm up next spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to be able to fill that role.
And another guy, 2 more guys who I think really, really might hurt us in the long run. We lose edge rusher Marcus Davenport, who honestly, we traded 2 first-rounders for the guy. He got half a sack last season. He's never been healthy.
Yeah, he's been one of he's been the Andrews Pete of the defense.
Don't bring that name up. But that may be kind of cutting our losses where we can with Marcus. Not that he's a horrible NFL player or anything like that. It's just he never got back what we wanted from him, unfortunately. So, Marcus Davenport goes to the Minnesota Vikings on a $13 million prove-it deal. And then one of my biggest losses this offseason, who I think I really wish we could have kept because of what he showed at the end of the year, was Caden Ellis.
Yeah.
He went to the Falcons as well.
Big improvement from him. I remember just playing Madden, I think it was last year. 2021. It was in 2021.
Okay, so Ellis is probably rookie year.
Yes,
if I had to guess.
he was there, and I was like, who is this guy, right? Fast forward to this past season, and he's making big plays, stepping up in a big way for a very injured Saints team.
Yeah, it sucks that we lost him. The defense lost 4 starters, so it'll be interesting to see how we kind of retool, move on. We've already seen us fill those 2 D tackle roles. The edge rusher, we extended Tano Passignon, so he will be back. Carl Granderson, Passignon indeed. Carl Granderson is still here. We still got Cam Jordan wrecking the other side, of course. Linebacker, I think, is a depth piece we'll add in the draft as well. So in the draft, I'm expecting us, go heavy on the defense early. Maybe look for those depth pieces on offense later in the draft, unless one of those star guys falls.
Yeah, especially looking forward DeMario might not be playing for that much longer. He's getting up there.
Same
with Cam Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Jordan, I think this is the last year of his deal. I'm not sure when DeMario's deal's up, but he is getting older, although he's still playing at an all-pro level.
Oh, yeah. Still leading that defense.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing phenomenal, but you do have to look forward to things like this because we are in that. I wouldn't say we're necessarily rebuilding.
No, I don't think we're rebuilding.
But we're in that phase where you kind of have to determine what do you really want. Do you want to push for that Super Bowl now, or do you want to look at where we might be in a few years? So I think that's something the Saints kind of have to decide on their own. That's not something fans like us can.
Yeah.
But it's fun to talk about, for sure.
However, the Saints secondary, I'm loving.
Yeah,
These up-and-comers.
Our young guys are awesome.
Paulson Adebo,
Your
Alontae
guy,
Taylor.
Your guy,
has
Alontae
been
Taylor.
My guy.
I will never take that away from you. You have been on Alontae Taylor since day one, saying how great a piece he would be, and he has proven to be that. At one point last season, he was playing cornerback one for us, and he was playing really well for a rookie second-round pick. So, Alontae Taylor, Paulson Adebo, Marshawn is still pretty young. He's going into his 6th or 7th year, but I think he's only like 27 or so.
He's got plenty of time left.
He's got his legs under him. He was hurt a lot last year, came back at the end of the year, first game back, gets a pick 6. So he proved he can still play, of course. Tyrann Mathieu picked it up towards the end of the year as well, I believe. He didn't necessarily do what all Saints fans wanted and him go crazy, but we still got him under contract. He's still home, and we'll see if he can keep building. And then, of course, Marcus May is still holding us down in the secondary as well. So I really think we're a couple pieces away from making some noise in the playoffs. Like I said, I'm not going to say Super Bowl contender, but I think as long as we add some depth and add guys who fit what we're trying to do, we might look good this year.
Yeah, I don't think it's out of reach for you to say Super Bowl contender. Like, I don't think it's possible, not probable, is what I would say.
That's fair.
Like,
that is
look at the
fair.
The Bengals the first time they got there. Nobody expected them to be there. Joe Burrow led that team. Thank you, Joe. But yeah, it's nothing's written in stone yet. Still got a long year ahead of us.
Yeah, and like I said, the draft is coming up in a couple weeks. That's our favorite day of the year. We'll definitely, like I said, we're going to talk about that at the end of the episode, what we'll be doing on draft day.
Good day, not as much of a good movie.
That's a great movie. I don't know why you're hating, to be honest with you. Great movie. Kevin Costner, thank you for all that you've done for the draft day industry. I love that movie. Anyway, I'm really excited about what the Saints can do, but all in all, we still have 5 months until we play our first regular season NFL game.
It's a long ways away.
Moving on from the Saints, let's talk about some national stuff.
Ooh.
Kind of get into like where the biggest free agents went, and I'm using the NFL and CBS's database here, putting that forth. I don't rank these free agents. This is where they have them ranked. So we're gonna just kind of go through like some of the big names that change teams. First of all, the first name they have is Lamar Jackson, which we still don't know what's happening with Lamar.
Pay the man.
They offered it. They extended the non-exclusive franchise tag, which means either Lamar negotiates a deal with somebody else and they match it, or the other team will send them 2 first-round picks in compensation for Lamar Jackson. So the Ravens basically have 3 options. They either pay Lamar Jackson, they wait for somebody else to pay him and they still get Lamar Jackson, or they wait for somebody else to pay him and they lose Lamar Jackson. So none of those 3 have happened yet, and we're coming up on this draft. Lamar's been kind of in this limbo for what feels like months now, and what do you think's going to happen with Lamar, and what do you want to happen with Lamar? They could be different answers.
So last year, we saw Lamar start off phenomenal, right?
Yeah, MVP through 3 weeks.
Yeah, he was my fantasy quarterback.
He was indeed.
Then he started to slowly decline as his teammates started to get injured.
Yeah.
Eventually, he himself gets injured. We've seen a trend with quarterbacks of this build, the Michael Vicks, the Lamar Jacksons, the RG3s. They have great short careers, They always fall apart in the end, though, because of the wear and tear that this game takes on a rushing quarterback's body.
Absolutely.
So I can see why the Ravens are hesitant to pay this man the money he deserves.
Yeah. I mean,
that was a nice ad lib.
No, I thought I thought you were going to keep going, and I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, you're
but
good.
I think the whole thing is Lamar wants guaranteed money, right?
Yes.
Like Deshaun.
Yes.
He wants that Deshaun money. And nobody wants to give him Deshaun money because Deshaun set a crazy precedent for the NFL. Like, I mean, outside of his off-the-field stuff, which I really don't want to get into.
The Browns are just a dumpster fire.
True. But the contract-wise, like, 5 years, $240, and it's fully guaranteed. Like, that is
That's
unprecedented contract who, you know, even based on his on-the-field product, are we sure Deshaun Watson was worth that amount of money? I would argue Lamar's more.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
He's won an MVP. He's won a playoff game. He's the most dynamic rusher in the league, including running backs.
Yes.
Like, Lamar is a very special talent. And I can understand where the Ravens are coming from, not wanting to give him that much guaranteed money because of potential injury, because he doesn't have weapons around him, let's be honest.
Just Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Like, he doesn't have healthy running backs. His best receiver is Rashad Bateman, which no disrespect to Rashad Bateman, but if that's your wide receiver one.
Yeah.
So it's just weird with what's going on with Lamar.
Yeah, it's a very weird situation in Baltimore.
It is.
You can understand both sides. However, I'm in favor of Lamar. I think he deserves the
money.
money.
I'm on Lamar's side, too.
He deserves the money. He's shown it day in and day out. He hasn't been injured as much as we've seen rushing quarterbacks like that get injured. You know, he's kind of stood tall throughout this fiasco that is the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep.
So what I'd like to see personally was him get his money, but for a different team.
Yeah, I would love to see him go to a different team. However, I don't think that's very plausible at this point. Just because, like, I don't know who else is going for him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I feel like every team has kind of said, here's what we're doing at quarterback with, you know, Carolina trading up to 1. They've said, hey, we're getting our franchise guy. The Texans are sitting at 2. They're going to get their franchise guy. The Bears have stuck on Justin Fields by moving out of 1. They've kind of proven that, hey, Justin Fields is our guy. You look at the Jets still talking with the Aaron Rodgers situation. We don't know what's going on there, but both sides have made it pretty clear that that'll get done eventually.
He's going to get
He is going to be a New York Jet.
One team that could make a move, New England.
Yeah, and there was rumors about that I saw on Twitter today is that, you know, they've been trying to shop Mac Jones, and whether that means they're just not confident in his ability and they want to take somebody, or they're confident in their ability to get Lamar Jackson. Either way, New England is, you know, one of the only couple spots I could really see him going. New England and Washington, for me, are like the only 2 spots I really see. I mean, Atlanta, there's been lots of talks of Lamar to Atlanta, but they've made it very clear that they want Desmond Ridder. I'm not sure why.
Seattle might be an option.
Seattle they just extended Geno though, so you don't trade for. I mean, Lamar's better than Geno, but you don't trade for Lamar right after extending Geno.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many teams that could look at Lamar, but realistically, the only ones I see are Washington and what team did you say?
New England.
New England. Sorry, Washington and New England are the 2 teams I really see. Personally, I think he's going to end up in Baltimore. I think eventually they're going to have to bite the bullet and give him the money he deserves. So I think he'll end up being in Baltimore. I don't know if that relationship is beyond repair due to some reports we've seen, like he doesn't want to be there type thing. But, you know, if they give him the money, I think it's in everybody's best interest for him to be a Baltimore Raven next year.
Yeah, no doubt. Who else we got on this list?
So, you know, a lot of guys stayed home. Like Saquon Barkley was a guy.
Oh, yeah,
he gets franchise tagged, so he is staying in New York.
Giants made a big move last season from in the standpoint of wins.
Yeah, and you know, they had Daniel Jones too. Daniel Jones got paid, which if Daniel Jones, let's look at this. Daniel Jones is getting $45 million a year. If Daniel Jones can get $45 million a year, why can't Lamar Jackson get any money ever? Like, Daniel Jones actually stinks.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones had a great season last year.
But he's not
his
good.
best. It was his best. I'm not saying it was,
Interjecting real quick, I love being on a couch. This is so much more comfy.
Could just recline, lay back, and talk to you great people.
The boys on Brightside, here we are.
K-Town Pound.
Hello.
How you doing?
But yeah, Daniel Jones, not the greatest quarterback in the world. I think, if Lamar's not getting paid, Daniel Jones shouldn't get paid. Moving on to, some bigger free agents, literally Orlando Brown.
Bigger free
agent. He made a big move going from Kansas City to Cincinnati. So our boy Joey B right here got a new left tackle. We thought that last season that he was going to get a new tackle and he'd protect him. Jonah Williams could not stay healthy. They got Lyle Collins on the right side, who had a very underwhelming season. So we'll see if the addition of Orlando Brown is able to help out that Cincinnati O-line, who we still saw struggle last season.
Yeah, and it was quite shocking, too, because, we saw all these moves they made. We're like, oh, Cincinnati's got the O-line now. That was the only piece they were missing to just get past those Rams. And they fell short, way shorter than people expected.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, the Chiefs immediately made a move to bring in somebody to replace him in Jawan Taylor, coming out of Jacksonville. He ended up getting more money than Orlando Brown, even if Orlando Brown is, I think Orlando Brown's a really good player who's just kind of gotten the short end of the stick a lot of the time. But he's getting his money this year with the Cincinnati Bengals. Jawan Taylor goes to Kansas City to fill that role. Scrolling down a little bit here, we're moving on from the top 6 or 7 guys. We're looking at number 15 here in Mike McGlinchey, another tackle who changes teams. Going into Denver to protect for Russ. I think this is a great move for Denver.
He needed it.
I'm sure Sean Payton had a big play in that. Sean Payton, if you look at the Saints O-lines from the time Sean Payton was here,
Ramczyk and Armstead.
We always had really good tackles.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that Sean Payton definitely values highly, and that's why they brought Mike McGlinchey onto the team.
Yeah. He walked in the building and said, "Who is this guy? Get him out of here."
Oh. He doesn't look good.
I want him.
I want that McGlinchey guy in San Fran who's been an absolute piece.
Weapon.
For the 49ers. Yeah, weapon indeed. Looking at the next 2 guys, we're looking at Jesse Bates and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, 2 DBs who both have ties to the NFC South now. Jesse Bates coming from Cincinnati. I personally thought he was going to get franchise tagged or Cincinnati would bring him back. There would be no option. However, he does go to Atlanta, which I don't love for us, to be honest.
Atlanta's building a team.
They are. Atlanta, Carolina, both doing very, very well this offseason. The Saints still are their favorites. Tampa Bay is the only team in the NFC South who I think has had a bad offseason.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't added anyone, and they've only lost.
They haven't made any moves that make the team better, I think.
Right. So Jesse Bates goes to Atlanta. I think that's a great move for Atlanta, even though I hate the Falcons. I think Jesse Bates is a great player.
Hate the Falcons. Love Jesse Bates.
Yeah, he's gonna be a really good player for that secondary. Bring some veteran leadership. Him and A.J. Terrell are going to make a really good secondary combo on the back side and the front side, with A.J. Terrell being one of the top 10 corners in the league, in my opinion. Next guy down, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Very interesting move there. Coming off a Super Bowl defense, led the league in interceptions, and he only gets $8 million in free agency, a 1-year, $8 million deal, kind of like a prove-it deal almost.
Yeah.
And he goes to my Detroit Lions. Great move for the Lions. I think a lot of people are worried about the personality of CJ, and that's kind of why he doesn't get the money.
Yeah,
but
that's his game. That's his game on the field.
And on-field production, you can't argue it. He's looked. He had like 4 interceptions for us 2 years ago, 6 last year. He makes tackles. He stays healthy. I think CJ's a great player, and he ends up in Detroit, which I think is a great move for Detroit.
Definitely.
I think Detroit has also had a fantastic offseason. Bringing in David Montgomery, DJ Chark. No, DJ Chark left. He went to Carolina. Excuse me. Brought in David Montgomery. They signed 4 secondary players and CJ, lower name guy, along with Cameron Sutton and Emmanuel Mosley. So they made a lot of good moves on that team. Scrolling down a little bit, you kind of start to lose big names once you get down here. The last 2 that I really want to talk about that I think are noteworthy, one of them actually, he's ranked at 34, but I think he's more important than that, and that's Jimmy G. Jimmy G goes to Las Vegas to fill in that role. We were kind of, who's going to be the Raiders quarterback next year once we knew Derek Carr was out of there? Are they going to stick with Stidham? Would Tom Brady go there? Would Aaron Rodgers go there? But they made their move for Jimmy G. How do you feel about Jimmy G in Vegas?
I think Jimmy G is a great system quarterback. I think Vegas is not the right system for him.
Interesting.
If that makes sense.
No, I see what you're saying. I would disagree. I think Josh McDaniels, having known who Jimmy G is, he played with him in New England. He coached him in New England, I should say. I think he knows how to weaponize Jimmy G. And, I don't think you might be right on the sense that I don't think Jimmy G fits the Derek Carr offense, but I think Josh McDaniels will figure it out with him.
Yeah. I believe that he can figure out how to rework that offense. I was just saying that the offense they had last season, I don't think Jimmy G...
They can't maintain the same offense. That's fair. I completely understand that.
However, with Jimmy G and Josh Jacobs had a great year last year.
He did have...
I think he can go even... He could do even more this year with Jimmy G as the quarterback than he could last year.
Yeah, that's completely fair. And then the last guy I really want to talk about, well, real quick, Josh Jacobs, he ends up staying with the Raiders. They had declined his fifth-year option before the season. Everybody's like, man, best running back in football is about to change team. He stays with the Raiders.
Yeah, he played in the Hall of Fame game.
The last guy I want to talk about is not a big name as far as, like, if you are a casual NFL fan, you'll know this guy off the top of your head. But for me, off the dome. But for me, I think it was one of the strongest moves of the offseason because of who the teams affected are. And that is Javon Hargrave, D-tackle out of Philadelphia, coming to San Francisco with a defense that already ruled the world. They get an arguable top 5 interior defensive lineman in football.
That was a big move for the Niners. And a big move in the right direction. I didn't think that defense could get any better.
And then they
do that.
They add one of the best D linemen on the Eagles defense, who was also just up there with the 49ers as one of the best defenses in football last year.
They were a Javon Hargrave away from winning.
Probably. Well, they were a quarterback away from winning.
Yeah. Because
they had Josh Johnson.
They were 4 quarterbacks away from winning.
All right. We've talked about football plenty enough, and we'll talk about football probably towards the end, too.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Way too early predictions.
All right, here we are.
Give me a team who you think is going to completely turn it around from last season.
Okay, how about, I'll do you one better. I'll give you a team that I think is going to improve a lot and a team who I think is going to go down a lot. Okay. So improve a lot. A team I think who's going to take a huge step forward with everything that's been going on this offseason, everything that's been working in their favor. I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos. I think they'll... Now, of course, we were high on them last offseason, and you even had them going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and Nathaniel Hackett crushed my dreams.
But we don't have that problem anymore. Sean Payton is the coach. And if there's anyone I trust to maximize what Russell Wilson still has it left in the tank, it's Sean Payton. They also made big moves. They added 2 offensive linemen, Mike McGlinchey, forgetting the other name at the moment, but I know they added 2. They added one of the most underrated edge rushers in the NFL, in Zach Allen, coming from the Cardinals, who was basically their only defense last year. So they made a lot of good moves. They have Sean Payton. I think they're going to hit double-digit wins this year after getting, I believe, 5 wins last season, 5 or 6.
They have a coach who knows how to use weapons on offense. They have the weapons. That's not arguable at this point.
And, a lot of off-season talk this year was Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy on the trade market. Like, they're trying to get rid of them. Sean Payton came out and said Jeudy and Sutton aren't going anywhere. So he's sticking with the guys that were there before him. They're 2 very talented players.
Young.
Javonte Williams is coming back on the offense.
One of my favorite. A dog.
Absolute dog. And they still got... I mean, they had the stat at one point last season was if they scored more than 18 points, they would have been like 11-1.
Their defense.
So their defense is phenomenal. I really like the Broncos this coming year, and that may be Sean Payton bias. Probably Sean Payton bias, but I still like it. of course, I like the Lions to make the playoffs this year. They missed it last year. I think they're going to win their division. We'll get into division winners one episode. But a team that I think is going to take a major step back. Now, I said this off the top of my head and off the dome, some would say, and I didn't really think about it before I said it. So I'm trying to think right now who a team like that could be. You know, the Packers are an obvious answer. They went 9-8 last season and missed the playoffs, but they're going to lose Aaron Rodgers, who's undoubtedly one of the best players to ever touch a football. Yeah, I don't know if the Giants are sustainable, to be honest with you.
Interesting. You believe in Daboll?
I do believe in Daboll. I don't believe in Daniel Jones.
Very fair.
So, you know, if I'm looking at a team who I think is going to take a step back, those are two teams I would look at for sure. Do you have any you have any inklings as to who you think is going to take a major step forward, major step back?
So forward, you know, the Jaguars. They won the division last year. However, they're not at their full potential yet.
No, absolutely not.
They're definitely moving in the right direction. I could see them winning double-digit games this season.
I would agree. I think the Jags can figure it out. I think they went 9-8 last year. They're easily able to win one or two more games than they did last season.
Yeah. And I know it's not a huge, difference, but gameplay wise, I think it's not even going to be comparable to what they were last year.
No, and I think they're going to be a lot more consistent too. Because in the beginning of the year, the Jags were like, "Oh, the Jags are here." And they hit that middle of the stretch season, ended up snowballing towards the end.
Yeah,
I think we're going to get a lot more consistent play.
They beat the Chargers 34-3?
Yeah, they smoked them in the middle of the season. And then in the playoffs, they're down 27-0.
And came back.
And win the game. Shout out to my Chargers, baby.
But Jaguars are their kryptonite, I guess.
Do you have a team you think you may take a major step back? Like, if we think about the playoff teams last season, in the NFC, we could look at teams like the Vikings may take a step back. I don't think the Niners or the Eagles will fall victim to that personally.
Because they haven't had too much change. Brock Purdy took over pretty early and showed he can handle it.
Yeah.
I think he'll remain the starter. He'll remain a dog.
A dog. With
the Eagles, they almost have the same team. I mean, they lose.
They lose a couple pieces.
Gardner Johnson.
But the Eagles are, in my opinion, one of the greatest drafting teams. Like, I feel like when the Eagles draft a guy, that he ends up working out for them.
Yeah.
And they make sneaky moves too that end up working really well. Like C.J. Gardner Johnson, sneaky move, worked out well. Hassan Reddick ended up being one of the best edge rushers this past season, and he wasn't somebody who was in that conversation before. So I'm not worried about the Eagles either.
And yeah, like you were saying, there's obvious teams that'll decline, like the Packers, the
Buccaneers
Bucks are another one. But every year I bet against Patrick Mahomes.
Are you going to do it again?
Absolutely not.
All right. I thought that's where we were going.
No, yeah. I'm trying to think too.
I mean, it's tough. I don't think there's a lot of teams that got significantly worse, other than teams who were already not great. You look at playoff teams from the AFC too: Bills, Bengals, Chiefs. Like, those teams didn't get worse. The Dolphins are a team who I bet on to win the Super Bowl. Spoiler alert.
Dolphins are going to be good.
I put money on the Dolphins to win the Super Bowl this upcoming year. I think they're going to be fantastic.
Yeah. If Tua can stay healthy, it is
big if for sure.
Yeah,
but
big if. But I mean, it wasn't on him.
No,
he should have never been
in that
able
position
to get re-aggravate that injury.
Right. Would you like to move on to some basketball, my boy?
Sure thing.
Let's move on to some basketball. So, as we speak right now, the Pelicans are playing against the Kings. And if the Pelicans win this game tonight, they will lock in a spot in at least the play-in. There was a point a couple days ago where 6 through 8, I believe it was. No, 5 through 8 all had the same exact record in the Western Conference. So the Pelicans only have 4 games left, and they're still able to move up to the 5 seed, lock in the playoffs. 5 or 6 seed. 7 or 8 seed would put us in the play-in. We can even drop down to 9-10. I see you pulled up the score.
It did. It is a minute left in the first half. Kings are up 63-51.
Okay, don't love that. But, if we go 3-1 to end the season, it's still possible. I would like to see us win this game tonight. I think that's really important. But it's to the point now where as long as we can, if we can win one more game, specifically tonight, we lock in a spot in the play-in, we're at least guaranteed to make a chance at the postseason. Dangerous team. We've gotten a lot better recently.
Yes.
I'm really excited what the Pels have been doing.
We got hot out of nowhere almost the past 10 or so games.
We've won 7 out of our last 8. We're looking absolutely fantastic recently.
You want to know who's doing it to us tonight?
Is it Sabonis?
Sabonis is one of them. Sabonis has 12 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists at halftime.
Okay.
Well, not even at halftime.
Yeah.
And De'Aaron has 10 points, 2 boards, 4 assists.
That's one of my favorite combos in the league.
Yeah.
That. I've been owning them all season. Fox and Sabonis, I think, is a great combo. I'm excited to see what the Kings do in the playoffs outside the Pels. But as far as the Pels go, Brandon Ingram has been the best player in the league for the past month. He won March Player of the Month, and I think it's been something since, I think it was the first week of March since the last time he scored under 25 points. So he's playing out of his mind. He's had 2 triple-doubles in his career, and they both came 4 days apart. So Brandon Ingram has been playing his best basketball. I think he's proven to me that he can be the number 1 option on a playoff team. I don't think a lot of people thought that before. I think he can be, and tomorrow we get a reevaluation on Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
So I personally don't think Zion Williamson will play in the regular season.
I hope he doesn't.
I think they're going to practice him. I think they're going to let him heal, and he will play the play-in game. And we will get into the playoffs as the 7th seed and face the Grizzlies in the first round. That is my prediction for what the Pelicans are going to do with the next 4 to 5 games.
I don't love a matchup against the
I
Grizzlies.
would hate a matchup with the Grizzlies, let's be honest. I would actually rather match up with the Nuggets, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes. Either way, I'm pretty confident the Pels are going to at least make the play-in, fall within the first 10 seeds. So we'll see where it goes, and we will keep you updated on that. Moving on from basketball, let's talk about some baseball.
Ooh.
Not Major League yet. I want to talk about a team that is quite literally half a mile from where we are right now. They're currently playing at Alex Box Stadium, and they are the number 1 team in the country, LSU.
Yeah, they're
Dude,
they're on fire.
I mean, listen.
No signs of putting them out either.
No, I believe their record is 23-4.
How many of those are 10-run rules?
Too many of them. We have played 3 straight SEC series against then-ranked top 12 teams. We played A&M, we played Arkansas, and we played Tennessee. We have 2-1 to all of them.
Yes.
Tennessee this past weekend, they showed it to us on our Saturday game. But on Thursday and Friday, we beat the number team 10 of the country pretty handedly.
Yeah.
I was sitting second row right behind home plate on Thursday. Absolutely the best atmosphere I've ever been at a sporting event. They broke the attendance record at 13,068 fans in Alex Box. And you could feel the energy. There was a buzz the entire night.
As 2 of them.
Yeah, should. A buzz the entire night. And once Jordan Thompson hits a 3-run RBI double, the crowd just absolutely lost it. Of course, we had a problem in the student section where some students decided to throw beer cans on the field.
Too rowdy.
Absolutely idiots.
Yeah,
I would like.
Not a fan of that.
If anybody watching this podcast was one of those students who threw a beer can in the field, we're not friends. You give the other pitcher time to calm down. You give the other team time to.
Then you make us look bad.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bad thing to do. I don't know why they did it.
Yeah.
So as an LSU student, I do not condone that behavior. What's the score looking
Current update, it is the bottom of the 5th. We are at bat, and it is 2-7.
Hey, can't complain. We're up 5. We're playing Nichols tonight, so local game. Shout out to the Colonels.
Nichols struck first. They
really?
Scored in the 2nd inning, and then we scored 5 in the 3rd.
That's how we do things. We wait until the right time, and then we pounce. But LSU baseball, number 1 team in the country, number 1 hitter in the country, number 1 pitcher in the country. I mean, all around, LSU baseball is not only exciting to watch, they have true prospects of being one of the best teams in college baseball history this season.
Fun fact, this game, we have 7 runs. We only have 5 hits.
We got some homers, it sounds like, to me.
Tommy Tanks hit a 3-run homer.
That'll do it for you.
I love Tommy Tanks.
Yeah, I mean,
he's definitely one of my favorite players on this team.
You look at the top 5 of our lineup right now. You've got Gavin Dugas, Trey Morgan.
Gavin Dugas has been playing.
Gavin Dugas is
so
having
well.
not only the best year of his career,
that ball,
but a really good year, like nationally.
Yeah.
Like it's not like this is a good year for Gavin Dugas. This is a good year
for
anybody. A college baseball player.
That
and
ball that he hit is still flying.
I'm very excited to see that from Gavin because he's a guy who's been true blood LSU through and through for years now, and it's finally paying off for him. We've got Trey Morgan, MLB prospect. Dylan Cruz, number 1 on most teams' boards, if I had to guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tommy Tanks, who we still have next season. I mean,
Tommy Tanks just
he's hit 2 grand slams already. And then 2 guys who have been really playing well for us, Jared Jones and Cade Beloso, kind of switch out between 5 and 6.
Jared Jones is up to bat right now after the Tommy White flied out. Jared Jones is 0-2 this game.
Yeah, and that's kind of been our thing is that first base DH position. We've kind of been moving around there between Beloso, Jones, and Morgan, just rotating the hot hand.
Mm-hmm.
But Beloso and Jones have been playing really, really well. Very happy with what they're doing, and I think we're playing really, really good baseball. I know a lot of people are frustrated.
Our whole team's been playing good except for one person in the rotation.
Oh yeah, yeah, true. Yeah, so that's my only point is a lot of people were worried about that Tennessee game that we went out 6-0 in the first inning. But I think our biggest struggle right now at LSU, I think our biggest struggle is finding our third starter.
Yeah.
I think we've got our 1 and 2. We need to find who our third guy is going to be. And if we can lock that down and we can figure out who we can depend on Sundays in SEC play. And he doesn't have to be perfect because nobody's going to be Paul Skeens.
Yeah. We're going to put up some runs.
Yeah. Paul Skeens is a one-of-a-kind player. We're never going to see another Paul Skeens. You can't expect everybody to be like that. But if we can get a pitcher who can keep, his ERA, let's say 2.5 and under, let's say, he's not walking a bunch of guys and he's getting enough strikeouts to get us out of innings. I think that'll be the recipe for success for LSU. And to be honest with you, I don't see us falling any short of at least making it to Omaha this season.
Yeah. Little update. Jared Jones hit a home run. Solo home run.
There we go.
And
perfect.
Up to bat is Travinsky pinch hitting for Pearson.
Love it.
Travinsky's batting 429 on the season.
Yeah, he doesn't get to play often, but when he does, he's been doing all right.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the best part about our team is we're so deep too. Like we have guys who could be starting on other college baseball teams, even in the SEC, where college baseball means more.
Yeah.
And they're not getting any PT at LSU because of how good we are.
And that's not like they're not leaving either. They want to be here.
No, I mean it's an exciting time to be not only to be an LSU Tiger student, but to be an LSU Tiger fan. Because not only are we really good in baseball, we just won the national championship for women's basketball.
Yes, we did.
And